when the container breaks, compassion fatigue in the real world. What are early warning signs of compassion fatigue that you've learned to recognize in yourself?
Phil Phails for you.
I think you even said the word irritability.
Yeah, we talked about that last time.
Yeah. So noticing that my fuse is short, or I just kind of feel generally on edge. But it was, do you know Rebecca Bowman? Is it Bowman, I think?
At the studio?
But she's also a therapist.
Okay.
She came in to talk to my team about EFT, and did
Emotional freedom technique? That's tapping.
Yeah. And she did like a little session, kind of taught everybody how to do it, talked a little bit about it. And then she talked about compassion versus empathy. And I liked what she said about compassion fatigue, how really it's empathy, because we can learn how to be compassionate when we're helping those that have, experienced tremendous trauma without taking on the trauma. And it's kind of more the empathy that becomes problematic, right? Because then you're really kind of taking it on. It somehow relates to your own personal experiences, where it's kind of either re-traumatizing or triggering. And that was interesting, because I just had a moment recently when I was with a client, and the conversation started off about, very simple things. And I'm not going to go into specific details for obvious reasons, but I can make up a similar situation, because this is a fairly common thing, where we're talking about something simple, like why the children won't go to school, right? And then it turns into a conversation about this huge trauma that happened that the children witnessed, and so there's an attachment, right? And as we were having this conversation, I was feeling very compassionate and wanted to really utilize our time together to just let her hold space for her, let her talk, and then maybe come up with a few solutions when it comes to the reason why we started, the conversation, like the children. So I was feeling compassionate, and then there was a moment when she started to describe the horrific event that happened.
Oof.
And her children witnessing it. And all of a sudden, I started to connect it to my own personal experiences of like, oh my gosh, like
Fear for your own family.
Well, not even that, just like what would happen if my children had to witness something like that?
Yeah.
I guess that is fear for your family, but more just thinking about them witnessing something similar. And then I was thinking about her children too, like, because I know her children, how awful that would be for them. And I started to get teary-eyed and, pretty emotional. And I tried to keep it in check, because it wasn't about me. It's about her, right? But when I was thinking about this later, I was like, oh, I can see exactly where it flipped, exactly where it went from like I was feeling compassionate to then I was empathetic. And in that moment, it was really kind of taking over my own like internal world.
Your nervous system was impacted.
Yeah. And then it was for the rest of the day, and I had to really kind of sit with it and figure out, kind of what did I need to do to let go of it, because it's not my experience.
Because it could be sticky.
Very sticky. Yeah.
We influence each other. Even you mentioning that, even us talking about this, I think back to a time when my daughters experienced something traumatic that I was a part of. And then I feel sadness, guilt because of my role in it, and a desire to shelter them from that, not wanting them to have that experience in their life.
Yeah.
So it's sticky. You weren't even sharing an experience. You just talked about something very generically. In my mind, this is how human minds work.
Right.
We're like, what would that be like? Where can I draw a link to my own life to that?
Yeah.
And then you're there. Bam, it's
Right.
sticky. I'll probably think about that for a while.
But I think when we're talking about fatigue, if you're listening to these stories and hearing about these traumas
Multiple times
all
a day.
day.
Yeah. So then there's
every day,
waves, right? You've got one that's kind of fading out in volume, and then another one comes crashing down, and then you're like, oof, yeah.
right? So that's why it can't be sticky,
It can't be sticky.
right?
But it is sticky.
Well, I mean,
How do you take that away?
I mean, I think that there's a wide variety of things you can do to try, you know. But yeah, I think it becomes necessary, if we're going to call it the stickiness,
Yeah.
to limit the stickiness, right? Because if you are then thinking about, you know, your daughter or your daughters in that experience throughout the day, then that's going to impact how you engage with the next person. And so if we're talking about, you know, a field or a career or whatever it is where you're interacting with people that have experienced trauma all day, right? Then not just for yourself, but also for the next person, you don't want to take that stickiness.
You're not going to be able to do that maybe all day.
Well, that too.
Maybe
Yeah.
it's like 4 hours of a day. How long can you... Because question one, is the empathy helpful for the person? Is you being in it with them to that level? Like, I think of empathy as like standing on their side, seeing the world through their eyes for that moment, through that experience of being like, what was it like to be you? How do I draw parallels from my own life, and how would I feel in that moment? Is that being with helpful for the other person versus compassion?
I think maybe, and I know there's a lot of different opinions on this, but I think for me, there are moments when it is, but they're much more rare than what I'm experiencing, if that makes sense. Like, I'm still trying to figure out how to be more present and compassionate without taking it on. Because I need that for my own life, for to be sustainable in this field, you know?
Because LCSW, you're going to be supporting people. Is that what you mean in that, as you start to have clients and stuff?
Yes. But even if it's not the LCSW
just continue
world,
in your role.
like even continue my role where I'm at. In fact, in some ways, I think that this is something that I've talked about with other therapist friends where, you know, like I was just talking to a colleague where they, you know,
Excuse me.
no, you're good. They were talking to somebody like the initial interview, and they decided that person needed to be referred out. It was kind of beyond what they felt like they could manage or beyond their scope in that moment. Right.
Yeah.
And so I can see, like, if I was doing private practice, I could kind of figure out like what felt sustainable as far as my client load, right? My caseload.
Yeah.
This is different. I don't have a choice, right? I'm getting very complex situations and clients that have experienced horrific things. And I hear these stories, right? And it's different in the sense I'm not purely clinical, right? I'm not just working on the mental health aspect.
Yeah, it's not always diagnosing. It's a lot of different things.
It's a lot of different things. It's, you know.
Let's give the audience a little bit of awareness of the context for this. And stay true to, you know, some, what's the word? Anonymity or...
Yeah.
You're working in what capacity?
So my official title would be the program director it's a program that supports immigrant families, specifically, or primarily, I would say, asylum seekers. And so we provide shelter and case management services. So there's case managers that are working with these families it's like a multi-dimensional approach where someone's working with them on their medical needs, someone's working with them on the child advocacy piece. So school enrollment, mental health referrals, vaccines, stuff like that. Housing. So every component, is kind of tended to with case management. It's like wraparound case management services. And then I'm the director of the program. But that's kind of wearing many hats, right? Because some days I'm like meeting with a family, one that I just mentioned, where we're talking about something fairly basic, school attendance, but then it evolves into this really long that conversation was like an hour and a half maybe, right? Going into all kinds of traumatic events. And so there's multiple roles even in that scenario, right? Of the director, like these are the requirements of our program. Kids need to go to school in the state of Texas. It could be truancy that can impact immigration, right? But then goes into more clinical route of talking about the trauma. So yeah. So that's the role. That's the job.
Role where compassion fatigue would come up.
Again
and
again.
Empathy fatigue too.
Yeah.
Like it's just nervous system fatigue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the stickiness, whatever we want to call this, the rumination or whatever, the emotional kind of impact of it over time and repeatedly. How do you navigate that?
I think I'm still figuring it out, and I'd be curious if people fully figure it out, because I feel like we change over time.
Yeah.
Our needs change over time. Other factors, like this would have been different in my 20s when I didn't have children, right? So our capacity changes. And since our capacity changes, I think,
because when you leave there, you go home and then you've got all these other challenges that are also, wearing or fatiguing.
Yes. But I see like shifts and changes, based on, I think reflection, of course, is huge. And so as I reflect over, I've been doing this for, this specific role for a year, but then I was at this same organization before that. And I think last time we talked, I think I shared a moment where I took the kids swimming, and did I share this with you? And it was in the beginning of this role, and I was having a hard time with all the different, experience of trauma and the stories and how to like hold space for all of that, but then go home and be with my kids. And I took my kids to a pool, and they were swimming, and there was this gentleman who was like fully dressed, like long sleeves, long pants, and it was hot, like really hot, and he was just standing, staring at the pool for a while. And I thought, in my mind, like, why is he wearing long sleeve shirt and pants and not getting in the pool? And he's just standing there staring. And it just seemed odd, right?
It seemed odd.
Yeah, it seemed odd. But then that triggered this whole big thing where then I started going into this direction of like, is he
a pedophile?
Yeah, or does he have a bomb? Does he have a gun? Is he like, what,
what's he doing
like,
here?
What is he doing here?
You're like 2 steps from being, like, if you look at social media, there's these, like, Karen stories. You're 2 steps from going up to him and saying, like, hey, what are you doing here? Yeah. And then it's easy for someone to videotape that, and then for him to be like, what, I can't just be here? Right. Being a Karen? And so there's like this 2 sides of it. One's like, well, that's odd behavior. Yeah. And asking someone why they're being odd, or how do you, can you help me make sense of what's going on right now in this, it's a swimming pool with kids swimming. it's a hot day. This doesn't make sense to my brain. Can you explain it to me?
Yeah.
The probability of him being like, well, actually, you know,
Yeah. Right.
it's probably going to be a weird situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ugh. And then your mind, of course, is going to, without any kind of opposing information, I think you go ask him questions probably, for one, to get some clarity so your mind stops making up all those stories. And two, maybe to like encourage him to move on.
Yeah.
Unless they've got a kid there at the pool. Mm-hmm. Like,
I don't think he did. I think eventually he took off his clothes and he got in the pool, I think is what happened. But it took a long time. And I know that because, or maybe it felt like a long time, you know.
but he did get in the pool.
He did eventually, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you could make up all these stories about bombs and guns and like pedophiles and all this stuff. And it could be like, I experienced a trauma when I was a kid. I took off my clothes and everybody laughed at me. So now I'm like working through some.
Or he just came from work and he has to wear long sleeves and pants because he's out in the sun.
There's a ton of reasonable.
You know, and yeah. But I recognized in the moment, like, wow, this is my reaction.
Yeah.
Like bombs and guns, pedophile.
Yeah.
You know, to a man staring at a pool.
Why am I making these stories?
Right. And so, I mean, I recognized it. I could feel my anxiety, my need to protect my kids.
Right.
You know, it's like, I don't know what this guy's doing, and maybe I should just be more aware of where my kids are. And so what I ended up doing is I just, you know, tried to take some deep breaths and say, you know, I'm okay. I know where my kids are. I can see my kids. And then eventually I think if it would have lasted much longer, I probably would have got up and moved and asked my kids to go to the other side of the pool.
Right.
And just continue to like watch my anxiety or whatever was surfacing, you know, but probably right at that point is when he got into the pool.
Which
you know?
really needed him to what we say, piss or get off the pot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Excuse me. Crude.
Yeah.
Because we are vigilant for a reason.
Right.
That stuff you're doing has a purpose in this world. Of being protective of yourself and of your family, observing your environment and saying what's off, what's odd. And then there's there's less downside to assuming risk than there is of assuming no risk. Right? If you assume risk and act, if there's no risk, you're fine. If you don't and you just walk the world oblivious to risk, you know, you're probably going to walk right into it. You know what I'm saying?
I do, but I think the other side of that is, so what I learned from that experience is that I needed to do more, or some people say, well, you need to do less. Well, I needed to do more to kind of, like release the stuff that I was taking home, to kind of process things, to also hold space for more like groundedness and ease and joy to kind of counteract all of the trauma, right? Because to be that vigilant all day, it's exhausting.
Well, you're not that vigilant all day. You're vigilant when there's this code switch. There's this thing that doesn't map to what you think normal life is.
Yeah.
Right? That you weren't doing. Did you always in your day find that anomaly that brought?
In that period of time, yes. Like
not
all day, but it was happening.
Guess if you wanted to find it, you could always find it.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like not, I wouldn't say all day, but in that period of time where I couldn't kind of figure out, you know, like how to hold space and manage everything, it was happening a lot.
It's a dark world.
Yeah.
From the stories that you're hearing, it's a dark world.
Yeah. And I reread that book, Trauma Stewardship. Have you heard of that book or read that book? It's really good book. But she was, and I may totally get this wrong, but I think what she was describing was a moment when she was at the Grand Canyon and with family, and I don't remember her role, but she was constantly exposed to secondary trauma. And the first thing out of like her mouth, which was the first thing that came to her mind, was, I wonder how helicopters get here for emergency exits, or, how many people fall off this edge, right?
Yeah.
And I think maybe in the story it was her father-in-law was like, wow, that's the first thing that comes to your mind when seeing the Grand Canyon for the first
Yeah,
time.
it's beautiful.
Right. Mm-hmm. And for me, that period of time was kind of like that, where, yes, it makes sense when there's, somebody standing for a long period of time, like overly dressed at a swimming pool, to be like, what's going on there? But there were other moments in my day where that wouldn't make sense, to be that vigilant or to be
high vigilance, because we could make something odd in any situation, probably, if we wanted to.
Right. Yeah.
I was talking to Jennifer, my girlfriend, the other day, and it was like, I think I'd had a strange interaction. And I was just like, man, humans gonna human. We sometimes believe, oh, everybody's good and everybody's happy and everybody's doing the best they can. But man, there's so many examples of how humans are effed up, man, doing effed up stuff. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I do want to see the bright side of life, but I also want to step back and say, no, this is a weird environment where people do weird stuff all the time. And that's a part of this, whatever this is we're doing, is humans. I just say humans gonna human. Like, they're gonna hurt people. They're gonna steal. They're gonna, take advantage of things so that we can't ever have nice things, right? Because of some, they're gonna leave their trash at a park. They're gonna, humans gonna human. And I still need to look at the beauty of life and say life is beautiful. But also, I think I'm linking that to what you're saying, because you're exposed so often to the worst in human behavior. Narratives of it, subjective experience of it. And there's a lot of it.
Yeah.
And there's also roses that are blooming, or excuse me, I don't know.
I think I've heard others talk about this, and I've read a little bit about this, about, how when we don't accept the suffering and the evilness and the bad things in the world, and we finally do, or at least like start to recognize it, it becomes overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
And I think that, there's well, I was going to go down another tangent, but let me stay on topic. So I think that was kind of what was happening for me in the beginning, right?
Yeah. But
there's all different directions, ways we can manage it or approach it, right? And what I wanted to do was not become burnout, jaded, bitter, detached, but also not be ignorant, right? And so for me, it seemed like, well, then the only way to move forward is to figure out how to hold space or recognize this evil, this darkness, the suffering. But my work was then to be more open, or to really try to recognize, like really feel those moments of like happiness or joy.
Yeah.
And it started to happen where it's like a small moment that would often just kind of go unnoticed for me, like the moment I mentioned earlier of like laying in a hammock with my son. I would just be talking to him and then we'd move on, right? But now, because I have more of awareness of the darkness of the world, it makes me really enjoy those moments where this is a pure moment of love and connection. And I think that's what's needed for everyone, but also, if you're managing and holding space for trauma all the time, it's like you have to find the little moments. And I think that goes back to the ritual conversation, and that, some of us are really good at the ritual, and so we can incorporate that at 8 a.m. on a Monday. Right. And then for me, even though I'm still trying, I've also kind of recognized I'm not good at that. And so I have to, so my success, my strength is in the moments where I'm walking in my car and a breeze comes by and I notice the temperature on my skin.
Yeah.
And I stop in that moment. Instead of just continuing to walk to my car, I stop and I feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And so it's not like a specific ritual, but it's something that I know works for me, like those little moments. And so I really try to make an effort to recognize, to incorporate, to pause.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got these spaces, as you were talking about in your role, there's these waves, those are my words, of traumatic kind of awareness, or becoming aware of different things that happen. And it's difficult to hold space. You're holding space for trauma a lot. Where the heck in America are we just holding space for the opposite a lot? Well, I guess you don't do that anywhere. No one's like, hey, I really need you to help me hold space for this wonderful thing that happened to me. Maybe that's what we do in our personal relationships when we share the good things that are happening to each other. Mm-hmm. We don't have to do that in a designated place. Because I thought that'd be a cool role.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think we do that in a different way. So that's why I love teaching yoga. Would you be fatigued
in the same way, though? Do you think you'd be fatigued in the same way of like, I've had too much positivity. I really need to find some darkness, like whenever I stub my toe or whenever I like burn my hand when I pick up a pot. I need to like feel into the pain of that so I can balance out all this positive shit I'm exposed to all the time.
Well, I think that all of it is naturally there, the positive and the negative.
Yeah.
Right? It's just, what are you willing to look at, or what has been modeled to you as well, So some of us, maybe, like I grew up in a household where you didn't really talk about the negative. Everything was kind of swept under the rug.
Yeah.
Right? And so that was a lesson for me of like, how do I really look at this?
Yeah.
Right? And then maybe for others, it's different. It's, they grow up in an environment where everything negative is talked about, and, and so then they have to, So I think it's all, what am I saying?
What are you saying?
I don't know.
It's different for everybody, and we kind of have to grow out of the knots of our childhood or whatever. You're saying some people were conditioned this certain way to talk about negativity all the time, so they're like more primed towards it. Oh, this traffic stinks, and oh, F you for cutting me off, and oh man, I gotta wait here 10 minutes to see my doctor, and just like this default mode network of negativity of like speaking to it, and the other one's like, oh, it's fine. I'm just going to keep it all bottled up and not talk about it. I think you're talking about the middle way. Some way of...
But I do get tired of constant positivity.
You do?
Yeah. Nowadays, I do. Yeah. Like, because, you know...
You got impassioned there. I do get tired of constant positivity. Where do you see that in your life?
At the yoga studio.
Really?
I mean... Not. I think I
look out there, y'all. Mary's coming for you. Don't be coming in there happy all the time.
I mean, I think I try to create a space where everybody can come in with whatever they're coming in with, whether, they've had a hard day or but I think in general, yoga spaces can be those spaces where it's all love and light, and you say, how are you? And they say, good. Right.
Well,
And
there's not time and space to really delve into that question.
well,
We got to start that yoga.
sometimes there is.
Maybe if they
but-
hang afterwards or come a little bit early, which I
Yeah.
have done.
Yeah.
You can actually answer that question. Mm-hmm. That's a tough question when you got yoga starting in a couple minutes.
Right.
How you doing? I'm here at yoga. Gonna move my body. And the love and light. Well, you got sample bias there. You got the people that come to yoga. There's a sample bias, selection bias, right? What kind of people are going to go to yoga? They're probably going to have most of their needs met if they're coming to yoga.
Oh, I see what you mean. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then be at a certain place in their life where they're choosing healthy, positive behaviors and exercises. So they're,
Yeah.
people in the trenches aren't going to yoga. They should. They would benefit from it.
But there's a hierarchy of needs.
I'm going to digress for 1 second. I think about this, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and how it's real easy for, I know I'm white. I know I'm privileged. I know that I can eat every day and I'm good, but I still think there's some white wealth privilege that is enlightenment is real easy for all these people that have privilege, that have all these things to be like, I'm enlightened, I'm transcending. And see that or share that as you just need to do your work. You just need to do your work to find this. You need to be here now and you need to do all this stuff. Oh, just do that. And then I map that to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and it's like, hey, you do that when you've got all these other needs met.
Right.
Shelter, food, water, clothing, and then the next layer of like blah, blah, blah. And all of that takes money.
Right.
All of those take money.
Right.
A little bit of free time for the mom who's working 3 jobs and then taking care of kids. Like, to ask them to just find enlightenment is really insulting.
Right.
I don't know where I'm going there, but I guess it's just,
But you went hard.
I went hard there. I guess I get a little bit perturbed with thought leaders in this area sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I think that goes back to my what I mentioned about like yoga spaces,
Yeah.
because it's a
Infinite positivity. It's easy to be infinitely positive when you're 5 layers up on Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Right.
When you have the luxury of being in transcend phase. Must be nice up there, Well, then maybe that's what you need to balance out your other side of your life.
I mean, I feel like I've done that because like our studio.
Yeah. Studio side. Yeah.
But no, I feel like that it is a space where people can share like a wide range of experiences, and it's not a forced love and light positive space.
Yeah.
But I was more speaking like to the yoga world kind of in general, yoga studios and yeah.